Hello everyone, welcome back to the Strawberry Lily channel. Today I am doing a get ready with me. I know, finally some new makeup content. So I have a few things today that I'm really excited to try out. We have the TirTir Red Cushion Foundation in the Holiday Edition, as well as, I couldn't help myself, I picked up a few items from the Bobbi Brown and Powerpuff Girls collection. Oh my god, I squealed out loud when I first saw this. I know that people were criticizing on social media saying that Bobbi Brown is for old people and that the colors were boring, but for me, I don't know, I'm kind of in like a bougie less is more makeup era. It's not necessarily to say that I'm not into color or anything, like I'll still play around with color here and there, but at the same time I definitely don't mind just like classic flattering neutral tones. So we're gonna see how these look on my eyes against my skin tone and all of that pretty shortly. This is a 4-pan palette and this is one of their singles from the Luxe eyeshadow range. So I already have the regular version of the TirTir Mask Fit Red Cushion. This is just a mini version. And when I saw this holiday edition with the sparkling red, oh my god, look at that. This is just giving me like Dorothy's sparkly red shoes in Wizard of Oz, Jessica Rabbit's dress. When I first tried out the mini, I liked it well enough. Like, I think it's a genuinely good product, but you guys know me, I'm not really big on heavy foundation wear every day. So to be honest, I just never saw myself getting the full size of the cushion, but look at that, even the sponge has like Christmas themed decorations. So yeah, TirTir got me completely with their holiday packaging. I actually have quite a few products from TirTir that I really enjoy. They've become staples in my life. So first of all, what I usually use instead of foundation is that I just put some of this TirTir concealer on like my under eye area. So I'm using the stick portion now because the liquid is almost out. I like both the liquid and the cream formulation equally, and this has been my favorite concealer for well over a year now. I think it was part of my 2022 makeup favorites. But yeah, this is the only concealer that I've found that's actually full coverage and yet it doesn't dry or crack throughout the day. And I also just put some on my forehead and the bottom of my chin here to give a highlighting effect more than anything, more so than covering anything up. So for me, you know, this is typically enough for my everyday as far as my base makeup goes. And underneath, of course, I have the Etouce Face Edition primer. But today, I definitely want to test out this big boy right here. I mean, not test out, like I know how this performs already, but I know that everyone is still kind of very hyped up about this foundation, and for good reason, but I just don't personally like to wear a full face of foundation every day. Okay, I'm not a fan of the puff, to be honest with you. Not like this one in particular, just in general. I don't really enjoy the flimsy puffs that come with most cushion foundations. I'll deal with it as, you know, the most convenient option when I'm traveling or something, but when I'm at home, might as well use my brush. So TirTir foundations claim 72-hour coverage and lasting wear, which again, I mean, I guess it's impressive, but I wouldn't want to be in too many situations where I'd have to leave my makeup on for 72 hours straight. But definitely for travel days or something, I feel like you can't go wrong with this foundation if you want to make sure you look as fresh as possible, especially when your flight is 10+ hours long, like mine is going to be when I go to Dubai again in December. It kind of smells like soap. I mean, not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, just thought I'd mention that. Okay, now on to the super exciting parts. So, I feel like I've been working really hard ever since I got back from Dubai last month. Wow, it's already like almost the end of November. So I thought I deserved to treat myself to a little something luxurious. And lo and behold, Bobbi Brown comes out with a Powerpuff Girls makeup collaboration. Could not have come at better timing as far as I'm concerned. So I was prepared to buy quite a bit of items from this collection, but by the time I got around to it, 3 of the things that I wanted were already sold out. So all of the lipsticks, the Buttercup highlighter, and the Blossom face powder, all sold out. I was so shocked. My feelings were hurt, but at least I managed to get my hands on the eyeshadow palette as well as one of the Buttercup singles, which again, I pretty much only bought this for the packaging because did you know that 5,500 yen for a single eyeshadow? Is that where we're at in 2023? I'm just like, my mind is boggled. I know that it's Bobbi Brown, obviously it's gonna be high-end luxury prices, but 5,500 for a single, and then this was only twice that for 4 eyeshadows. Make it make sense. If they charged 5,500 for every single eyeshadow in here. This would be like a $200 or 20,000 yen palette. Okay, you know what? Let me get on with the makeup review. So this is actually my first ever purchase from Bobbi Brown Cosmetics. I think they were targeting me exactly when they released this Powerpuff Girls collab. Like, basically I feel attacked because yeah, I'm one of those people that I would have just never given a second glance to Bobbi Brown probably ever in my life unless they gave me an incentive as strong as this. So it seems like their main eyeshadow formula is called the Luxe eyeshadow. It comes in metallic and matte formulations. So in this palette here, which has this, oh my god, I don't know what this is called. Holographic? I don't think that's the right word. When you move it back and forth, the scene changes. So you can see this is giving the illusion of the girls flying forward at us. So first of all, like, packaging is A1. I don't think there's much more that needs to be said about that. Definitely, like, I appreciate the ColourPops and the budget brands of the world giving us a fun, nostalgic childhood collab from time to time, but if you're a real collector like me, nothing gives you quite as much satisfaction as the big boys, the luxury brands, doing these types of collaborations, because the packaging is just on another level. The only thing I noticed is that, so this single eyeshadow has a button here that you can press to unlock the mechanism, whereas the eyeshadow palette, it's just, there is no button. It just opens and closes, which is not a big deal. I just thought it was interesting, like they didn't keep it consistent between the palette and the single. But anyway, so this color story, this is the one that got some people's feathers ruffled. Bobbi Brown caters to more of that like mature woman natural makeup demographic, so the color story is obviously going to be neutral, but I'm not mad at it. So first of all, I found the Luxe eyeshadow formula to be pretty impressive, especially the metallics. They're very buttery smooth and there's no flakiness whatsoever. So it is definitely like, it's 100% a powder, but there's a lot of moisture in it. It's very emollient. At least that's my initial impression off of the hand swatches. We're gonna see how it holds up on the eyes. But yeah, I will say though that the single shadow, so this is in the shade Melting Point. I thought this would be more of like a pinky gold, but it's actually just more of a classic bronze color. I mean, maybe slightly leaning rose gold. But yeah, I just thought that with the single shadow, the swatch, when I swatched it, I noticed immediately that it was even wetter, even more blinding than the shadows in the palette. I don't know if it's because I just maybe need to get past the top layer, but I felt like the shadows in the palette were a little bit harder to lift the product off of initially, and it was a little bit like I had to swatch a couple of times back and forth, especially for the matte shades, to get them to show up. Like, I wouldn't say they were chalky by any means, but it was just not as vibrant initially. And the same thing with the metallics. They just seemed a little more muted and dull than the single metallic shadow. But again, finger swatches are not the most reliable, so let's test them out. Let's see how they really hold up on the eyes. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my lids first. So I'm starting off with the shade Toast. I'm gonna dust that all over my lids. So this is like a true caramel camel color, which is very nice. It feels a little more like edgy and fashion forward than just a regular, you know, beige nude eyeshadow, while still remaining very natural. It looks fine, but if you were like half a shade lighter than me, this could definitely veer into chalky looking territory. Yeah, and the pigmentation definitely just does not build up past a certain point, which again is fine because this is the lightest color in the palette, but let's hope that this shade down here, Hothead Red, is actually deep enough to give me some definition. I'm gonna switch my brush. Okay, it works better with like a flat square head brush. I was trying to use a pencil brush earlier and that was not going so well. Sometimes it really is just the tool. Like, don't be so quick to just write off the makeup product itself. Alright, so now I'm going to take some of Everything Nice. Pop that in the center of my top lids. And then I love that they added an icy metallic baby pink in here. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but for me, baby metallic pinks are just such a staple of the early 2000s, like Y2K aesthetic, that it's always gonna have a piece of my heart. And I love the name they gave it to, Kapow Pink. That basically sums up my entire personality. So we're gonna use that for the inner corner highlight, as well as I'm just gonna dot a little bit on the center of my tear bag area. So this is a really nice, like, cute, subtle shimmer, but again, I just don't really understand why. It seems like the shadows in this palette are so much drier than the singles. Like, this one is definitely kind of dry and flaky compared to the Melting Point single. I know I'm nitpicking, but Bobbi Brown is not cheap, so I expect to get my money's worth. I'm gonna draw in my tear bag double line with the Shibi Shibi Secret Kiwami liner. Finally got a refill. This is such a good liner. I haven't found one that is as subtle as this. It's just that it dries out so quickly, but it definitely helps if I store upside down like this. Okay, I'm sorry, but I need to add some more of a proper glitter, so we're gonna go in with Dear Dahlia, and this one is called Enchanted. It's just like a pink glitter with very chunky particles. I'm a K-beauty Douyin girly, okay? You can't just expect me to make do with some basic shimmer. Alright, so the eyes are pretty much done. I'm just gonna put on some finishing touches. So I'm actually just gonna take a tiny bit of this and use it to highlight some points on my face. At first I was like, oh, maybe don't use that because it's an eyeshadow, it'll be too harsh, but like I was saying before, all the shadows in this palette are a little duller than I expected for some reason. So this is actually really cute as a face highlight, and it makes me feel a little better about missing out on the Buttercup one. But that one was so, like, the special thing about that one is that it actually had the imprint of Buttercup herself, and none of the eyeshadows have that. And the same thing with the Blossom face powder, the imprint. Although if I had a choice, I would choose Buttercup because, you know, she's my girl. So for my lips, normally with this kind of like a latte makeup vibe going on for the eyes, actually, yeah, it just occurred to me, this whole palette is kind of like the perfect latte makeup palette with just a tiny punch of pink in there, the Kapow Pink. So if I wanted to keep like the latte theme, I think this nudie brown lip color from RMK would work the best. But I kind of want to showcase a new lip oil that I picked up from TirTir actually. So this is quickly becoming one of my new favorites. It's called the My Glow lip oil in mint. I also have one in red from like several months ago, but I don't know where it went. But yeah, if you guys are looking for a lip oil that basically is a much cheaper dupe of the Dior lip oil. I tried the Dior lip oil before and it's basically like, this is almost an exact copy, okay? Even down to the really fat applicator. I will say that the Dior one is like slightly thicker, closer to a lip gloss in consistency, but this one is like just the right consistency. It's a lip oil, like it's very slippery and non-sticky, but it's not water thin, you know? I feel that there's some thickness to it. It just feels really good and nourishing on the lips. And I haven't tried the one by Clarins yet. I know that one is also viral, but I feel like if you are gravitated towards either one of those, the Clarins or the Dior, but you're on a budget, you want something at a cheaper price point, this is a really, really good dupe. Alright, so this is my full finished look, you guys. A TirTir foundation, I must say, this looks really, really beautiful on camera. And I think the trick to getting like the most flawless, smooth looking application without it coming off too heavy, because this is a full coverage formula, so you can run the risk of looking a little cakey if you put on too much. So I think the trick is definitely to go in with a very thin layer and just build it up if you feel like you need more in certain areas. But yeah, work in small doses, put on as thin of a layer as possible, and I think you'll get very beautiful results. The Powerpuff Girls eyeshadows with Bobbi Brown, I feel like I already said this a million times in the video, so I won't repeat myself too much, but I think the single Luxe eyeshadow really lived up to all my expectations. Like, it's smooth, buttery, super metallic, super emollient. Although I still find the 5,500 yen price point very ridiculous, like no matter how luxury the brand is, I can see that Like, everything makes sense to me, right? And of course, the buttercup packaging was just too good to pass up. The only thing that would have made the packaging better for this collection, in my opinion, is if the metallic detailing was in silver instead of gold. That's just my personal preference. Now, as far as the Luxe eyeshadow quad goes, this is where we're going to have to get a little brutally honest. I really like fully expected and wanted to be raving about this palette, giving it 5 out of 5 stars, all of that, but I have to say at the end of the day, after actually applying it on my eyes, I wasn't like super impressed. I liked the look that I eventually was able to get out of it, and I actually really like the tones, like the color tones of the shadows. Again, this caramel and espresso brown, it's like neutral, but it still has enough depth to it to pop against my skin. I really like that. However, like I've been commenting this whole time, it feels like something about the quad shadows, I don't know if it's just my palette that it was maybe a little overpressed, but there's just something like dull and drier with the quad shadows as compared to the single, which is kind of a bummer, to be honest with you. It doesn't render the palette unusable, like I'm still gonna use it and enjoy it, and I don't regret it because as an OG Powerpuff Girls fan, this is definitely like a must-have for me. There's no dispute about it, but I don't know, I was expecting a little more. Like the mattes, I feel like, okay, at the end of the day, I was able to get them to build up really nicely. It takes a while to build up, but eventually you can make the color very opaque. There's no patchiness. But the metallic formulations, these two, it's called the Luxe Metal formula, they were just like kind of dry. It pains me to say. It could have just been that this palette was pressed a little too hard. On the flip side, that actually means that these two shades are pretty well suited for face highlight because they are so subdued, like they're not as blinding as you would expect. So yeah, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on any of these products. Do you own any of them? Are you thinking of picking something up? I would love to hear your comments down below. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!